Thank you, Madam Chair. It's really my pleasure to introduce Dr. Julius Kpaduwa. Dr. Kpaduwa went to medical school in Howard University, Washington, D.C., graduating in 1979. Subsequently, he did his OBGYN residency at SUNY Downstate in New York City, which he completed in 1983. After that, he started off as a staff physician at Cigna, United Health Plan, and Manhattan Medical Group from 1983 to 1987. And since 1987, he's been medical director, CEO of Julius Kpaduwa Medical Corporation, an operating mother and child medical center based in San Gabriel Valley, Los Angeles, California. He's been actively involved in OBGYN practice and presently runs a multi-specialty group consisting of obstetrics, gynecology, and pediatrics. He's the president of the Avalon Independent Multi-Specialty Medical Group and the vice president, Greater San Gabriel Valley Multi-Specialty Group. Dr. Kpaduwa is the former president of AMPA, 2008 to 2010. He was actually also president-elect in the previous 2 years. That was 2006 to 2008. And a former chairman of board of the Imo State University Teaching Hospital from 2009 to 2011, as well as member of board of the Transnational Corporation of Nigeria, Transcorps, in his capacity representing the Nashville Capital Partners Limited. So he's been very active in the Nigerian space. He's the current chairman of the Nigerian Democracy Task Force. Dr. Kpaduwa is married to a fellow physician and a practicing pediatrician, and he has four children. Dr. Kpaduwa, we're really honored that you're taking part in this discourse and you've come to educate us tonight. Thank you.
The floor is yours, Dr. Kpaduwa.
Is he muted? Maybe he's muted.
It doesn't look like he's muted, but I think he should look at his microphone or whatever he's using to speak. Dr. Kpaduwa, I hope you know that we cannot hear you.
Should I make him what do I do? Make him a host, a co-host?
I don't know that it is you.
It's not you, really. He just needs to sign in.
Call his cell phone. Call him on his cell phone.
Okay.
And speak to him. Because he was on earlier.
Connecting to another audio, from what I can see.
Yeah, Dr. Kpaduwa?
Yes, can you hear?
No, we couldn't hear you. So how do we make, how can we hear you?
We can hear you, Dr. Kpaduwa. Dr. Stella called. She said that.
Yeah, I know. But I'm trying to use it. I'm trying to use my phone. I think my computer is giving the trouble.
Oh, we can hear you now.
Just a minute.
I think it's through Dr. Uddoh's phone that we are hearing him.
Yeah.
You can talk on my phone, they will hear you.
You know, let me use my phone.
Oh, okay. Okay, call in.
Let me use my phone. Just a minute. I'll connect with my phone.
All right.
Yeah, that's better. Yeah.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Oh,
there
you know,
are.
let me apologize. It's my my computer that is messing up. So I have muted it, and I'm going to use my cell phone.
Okay.
I actually was speaking, and I thought everybody was able to hear me. The introduction was excellent. Thank you so much for the introduction. And I'm really very, very, very honored to be in this group talking about Nigeria. When I finish making my presentation, I will tell you what I think of Nigeria. And I will tell you whether it is even worth even trying to participate in, as the country is organized right now. I will let you know whether it makes any sense to even try to participate in the political activities in Nigeria. You know, AMPA got formed about 1995. And the main reason why AMPA was formed was to be able to make a change in the healthcare structure of Nigeria. And shortly after it was formed, we started the medical mission. In 2002, my wife, who is a pediatrician and I'm OBGYN, and I did the first medical mission in Imo State. First of all, we did it at our local government in Mbano, and then we now geared towards other parts of Imo, in Olu and also in Owerri. It was after that first medical mission, when we came back to Los Angeles, that a group of Imolites from all parts of Imo came to our house and said they have a discussion. They want to have a discussion with me. And I was wondering what it was all about. Then they said, do you know the state of healthcare in Nigeria? Not to talk about the one of Imo State. It's terrible. And all that really emanates from the governance. So they then asked me, Dr. Kpaduwa, we will support you. Would you run for the governorship of Imo State? This was 2002. And I thought about it. And I agreed with them that the only way you can affect the healthcare system in Nigeria is through governance. And the way and manner that the governance was being perpetrated, especially in Imo at that time, I didn't see any way for any meaningful change. So I agree with them. And I said, okay, I will run for the governorship of Imo State in 2002. And then we formed an association, formed a group, raised some money, but of course, most of the money was from my own pocket. And I cannot tell you exactly how much I spent, but it was a whole lot of money. There was an incumbent governor at that time that actually participated with me in the medical mission. He came and made an address and decided to cooperate with us, and then he also, helped us achieve certain things that we did. So what I did then was to take a leave of absence from my practice, and I had two physicians that covered me, covered the practice, both in the office and also at the hospital. And I left for Nigeria, and I was in Nigeria for at least about 6 months in preparation for running for the political office in Nigeria. And when we went there, this was the first time somebody from the diaspora was coming back to run for a major political office in Imo State. They didn't know what to expect. In fact, then they had a rumor that the American government was sponsoring me. But of course, there was no American government sponsoring anybody. So they didn't know what to expect. And then I started going from county to county. And if you saw the amount of enthusiasm that the people exhibited, then we thought that, well, we're getting somewhere. We're going to do something. So I came back to United States, spent a few weeks, then went back to Nigeria, and decided to. I made arrangements for my security, but I was in Lagos, so I traveled from Lagos to Owerri, and when I got to Owerri, it was kind of late. I couldn't connect with the head of the police force in Owerri that have already made the arrangements. All they have to do was just give me the personnel. So I wasn't able to get it that day. And then there was an event in one of the local governments in Imo State that I was supposed to attend. As a matter of fact, it was actually a burial of a prominent Mbano individual. So I decided to go to that burial, and then without security, so that I would get my security the following day. Then from the burial, instead of going back to my hotel in Owerri, I went to see my mom in the village. My mom was very happy to see me. Then it was late, maybe about 10 p.m. So I said, what's the point of going to Owerri tonight? I might as well spend the night with my mom and then continue my activities the following day. There was a security guy that came to me and said, Dr. Kpaduwa, my advice is for you not to spend the night in the village tonight. My advice would be for you to go on to Owerri, and then once you get your security, then you can spend the evening. You know, I didn't know that I would have been such a big threat to whoever in Imo State. So I said, okay, no, I'm already here. Let me just spend the evening, and then tomorrow morning, we had some activities in close to in our local government that instead of going to Owerri and then coming back from Owerri to attend, let me just spend the evening. Then about 2:00 in the morning, some armed individuals came to our house.
Oh boy.
And the gate was locked and everything. Do you know they broke the gate? And I was watching them. They didn't know where I was. They went to the parlor, and then they went to my mother's room, asked my mom where I was. My mom said, no, that I'm not around. Then they said, I started coming to every room. And then finally they came. I couldn't escape because with Nigeria, you have to have all these guardrails in your window and everything. So there's no way for me to escape. These guys came to my room and dragged me and said, they are here to stop my governorship bid. It was clear. They dragged me out. They wanted me to get my other, the other guys who are helping me in the project, who are staying with us, who were in our house, and then across the house is my uncle's house where most of the team was spending. So they dragged me there. Then all of a sudden, they started shooting me. They shot me, I fell. And then some of my team now got the wind that I was already shot. Then they started trying to collect some other security people. And then these people then ran away. And I was there bleeding, almost bled to death. I was taken to a hospital, hospital close to our village. And they said, no, they couldn't handle my case. Then they took me to Federal Medical Center in Owerri. When we got to Federal Medical Center, they said, I have to go get some kind of a security clearance. Can you imagine somebody who has been shot, who is bleeding to death, who is now at your emergency room, and you're telling them, no, you have to move. Go to the police station and get some kind of a security clearance before we can see you. So then they drove me out. And then we finally came back. And then luckily, one of the doctors at the Federal Medical Center happened to be one of the physicians that we did medical missions with. So they now heard that I was shot. So they came over, took over my care, started giving me all kinds of attention, blood and everything. And immediately my team arranged for me to be taken by the next available plane to Lagos. And then from Lagos, my wife told me, you get your boat back to the United States. And so from Lagos, I went to the airport because it was in Ikeja that they took me to the hospital, did some minor surgery, and then from there, I boarded the plane, came back to the United States. And then I had about 6 surgical operations because my leg was dangling.
Wow.
Finally, yes, it was horrible. For a whole year, I was out of obstetrics and gynecology. I couldn't walk. So that was my experience with running for political office in Nigeria. It was horrible. Even when I came back, and then some friends came to visit me right here in Los Angeles. We were there entertaining our friends. Somebody called from Nigeria. And then one of the, I think my wife answered the phone and they said they wanted to talk to me. And my wife said, okay, hold on. Then they were saying, who is this? They said it was my wife. I think they told her, you better make sure that your stupid husband doesn't come back to Nigeria anymore to run for no political office. That was my first experience. But you know what? After I had my surgery and I was able to at least be on crutches, I went back to Nigeria to complete that process. And they couldn't believe that I could come back. But like the former speaker indicated, going through the primary is all nonsense. The people don't vote because of whom they think is the most capable. No, it's all made up. Up to tomorrow. Look at what happened in this last presidential election in Nigeria. How the person who really should have won the election was kicked out of the whole process. And look at what Nigeria is like. So, but the love that I had for that country, the desire for me to participate in any change that can be done, was such that in 2015, I went back again to run for the governorship. A whole lot better. I had my security and everything. We went through the process, but then they rigged me out of the primary and I lost. And that was the last time, and definitely the very last time that I will ever participate in a political activity in Nigeria. So that is my experience. I would love to participate in any conversation about this, answer any questions. And I really want to thank you all for giving me the opportunity to tell you my life experience with our dear country, Nigeria. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, thank you. That is quite an ordeal, a life-changing experience. And we thank God you're here with us and that you survived it all. And so we're gonna get some people, some questions. Whose hand was first? Odera, is that yours or Chukwudi?
But I think it was mine, but I think I have some questions for him if we have time. You can give other people a chance. I see.
Okay, let's get Dr. Eke, Dr. Cliff Eke.
Oh.
Yeah, good evening. Philadelphia, Delaware chapter. I saw this flyer and my Oga, Dr. Kpaduwa, is talking, so we just got off work in the West Coast. I had to join. Thank you for holding this and for what you do for AMPA. I'm the president-elect of AMPA, so you guys are making it exciting. We have more things to do. But going back to Dr. Kpaduwa, interestingly, I served with him in Imo Medical Mission around this time also. And in 2015, I helped to raise funds here in California for his second governorship bid. And I was impressed that he had the courage to go back again and still has courage to help our country in many ways. He was instrumental in us forming NPAG, which is the Nigerian Physician Advocacy Group, sister organization of AMPA, and many other things. So he's one of my mentors. I admire him. But I want to ask him a question that how do we change Nigeria when he's been through all this? And last year or this year, all of us in here got involved in so many ways to make sure we got good governance. We spent our money, our time. We hosted different events, a lot of them actually non-partisan, to make sure that INEC and the Constitution is obeyed. However, despite all our efforts, the same status quo prevailed. And it's very discouraging. I was so depressed after the last presidential election that I couldn't even work for a week. I had to take a vacation to Costa Rica with my wife to really start processing this stuff. And I'm still not out of that depression, literally. So it's hard for me to be optimistic when all those things are happening. So I would like to see his take on how we can stay encouraged and stay focused. I guess if we give up, we lose everything. But it's hard to stay focused and keep going when we thought we had made some dent in the system. Thank you very much for the opportunity.
Can I respond to Cliff?
Yes, that's for you.
First of all, Cliff, I'm surprised that you are participating in this, you know.
When you're doing something, I'm watching, and so I have to make time.
That is very, very nice. But you know, Cliff, you asked a very good question. And that is one question that has really troubled me. Look at what happened in this last presidential election.
Don't go away.
Terrible. Can Nigeria survive with the present structure that we have? My thinking is no, I don't think so. We have a whole lot of nonsensical activities based on tribe, based on selfish interests. I don't know how the present composed Nigeria can make any progress. I don't see it. So, Cliff, to answer your question, I know for those of us who really want to have a good country, it is disappointing to hear that I don't see any way forward. Something has to happen. That country needs to undergo some fundamental changes in structure and other things before anything can come out of it. So I really don't have any hope for the country as it is today. That's my response to Cliff.
Thank you very much for that answer. Who is next on question?
Can I ask?
Yeah.
All right, Dr. Kpaduwa, okay. I'm so sorry for your ordeal. Actually, it's so frightening, but I'm glad that you're alive and well. You know, my question, I have just one question and then one general comment.
Yeah.
And my question is, you know, when Igwe Onwara was speaking, he emphasized so much about having the vehicle of the party that you're going to ride on. And I wanted to ask you, because your description, like I said, it was very, very frightening. And the reason I'm asking for the party was to find out if you are actually in one of the major parties, and if you were and the frontline candidates, why that party or people around did not prepare you well. Because I go to Nigeria very often. Yeah. I have an idea what happens there, that if I were in your shoes, there was no way I would have gone to that village that night. You know, so what party were you in? Were you like a front runner? What were they doing for you? That's my question. And the general comments that I just want to make so that I don't have to speak again is there was something that that the Igwe said that I kind of liked so much. It's not political correctness. And that is that if you aspire to these positions, you have to do whatever it takes. It is only when you're there that you would effect a change. And we have a typical example in Anambra State. Somebody like, what's his name? The guy from Alo. Former governor of Anambra State from Alo.
Ngige.
So Ngige went there. Ngige went there. The Obas took him to a shrine or whatever. He got there, but he refused to do what they wanted him to do. He got in. I'm not like I do not support how he eventually got in, but he got in. And he got in. He drank whatever they used to drink when they get to government. He wasn't doing much. But the moment the Obas harassed him, we now knew that he has a sense of good governance. That was when he made a turnaround and started governing us well. But at least he got there first. And that's the point that I agree with you, absolutely. If there's a way that you can get in. When you go there, you have the seat of incumbency. The incumbency has so much power, and you can now begin to effect whatever it is that you have in mind, you know, in effecting. So I kind of like that. But I go back to your question again. What party were you in? Were you a front runner in that party, and was it a major party?
Right. I was actually in PDP. I was in PDP, yes, in 2002 or 2003 when I ran. I was in PDP, and I had a lot of, a whole lot of support from the grassroots. But of course, it's not the grassroots that determines what happens.
Exactly.
It is not the grassroots. All these elections are predetermined. And even if I know the former speaker was indicating that you have to have somebody to support you, but it's difficult to get somebody to support you if they know the kind of person that you are. It's really difficult. They all knew me. They knew me as a physician from the United States who is interested in serving the country. But my way of life is completely different from theirs. And there's no way they will commiserate with me. It is true that for you to be able to get any political office, you will have to have the support of those who matter in that political party. But those who matter in that political, they have their own people. They have people that they want to support. you coming from outside, you don't have a chance, especially in the main parties, PDP, APC, maybe APGA. Maybe APGA was different. You know, you don't have a chance unless you are there from the grassroots with them from the beginning. Not like you're coming from somewhere and even if you spend a whole lot of time, they don't really consider you as one of them, of them at all. So it is very difficult for those of us here. I mean, look at what happened in Kwara State. We had our dear neurosurgeon who has been participating in just about anything that you can think of, healthcare-wise, in Nigeria and also in Kwara State, who has developed a relationship within the governing structure in Kwara State. He ran for the Senate and he lost. I know some of those who are familiar with this, I'm sure, knew what happened. We all supported him. We all gave him money, left and right. But even with the grassroots, not only grassroots, with him being very close to the who is who in Kwara State, he still didn't make it. It's really difficult. It's difficult. I mean, if it's something that can be done, believe me, in Nigeria would be in a completely different situation. But these guys who really are there for whatever they can get, who have nothing to contribute to the society, have taken over the system, and I don't see how we can shake them out of that system.
Obijidako.
Okay. Can I ask?
Obijidako, I saw you raise your hand.
Yes, I did.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Let me thank the Igwe for Ruku, my Igwe Chinyereze. He saw it all and then got it out and make a near. Now for the last speaker, I was very, very afraid when you were telling your story, you know. But like David said, the Nigerian situation is simply unique. What I think is the diaspora, when they are coming to Nigeria, they think that they can just, the goodwill is there, they have a passion. Do you have your people with you? Who are the people you know to guide you? And that very night, from the last speaker, a security person came to you and advised you to get out. But this, you know, would have used the number 6 to go. Just get out. Now, but my concern is if everyone runs away from office because of some of these experiences, how do we make a change? Doc, how do we make a change? You know, there must be an inroad because it's not easy to unseat a cabal. It is not.
Very true.
How do we, you know?
Do you mind if I add something before Dr. Kpaduwa will maybe round up, because it's almost in the same line?
Yeah, please do.
You know, yeah. So thank you so much, really, for sharing your story. I've heard about you before, Dr. Kpaduwa, maybe through my, you know, we have organs and organs. Chief Eke is my organ, your Eke is organ. So we are having the hierarchy of organs. But I really, just listening to that just sends a lot of chills and goose pimple just to my nerves. Because if you understand the terrain of the Nigerian security system, especially when you are when you become known and you're into the politics, that was a very, very massive risk, stay with very little. Because even if you prepare very well, my friend was involved in the last politics. And the last time I visited him, I said, deep within me, is this really worth it? Because we are basically putting your life on the line. Because these guys they're willing, especially in Imo State. I think each state is different, but the political climate in Imo State is one of the bloodiest politics you can play in Nigeria, apart from Imo or River State. So this is a place that you come like in a kind of an armored car kind of preparation, that you leave any stone unturned, right? So it portrays to the point is that how far it is about balancing goodwill, and then how far you're able to lay your life on the line, because this is kind of you almost sacrifice your life for Nigeria. The first one was even good, but what actually amazes me was what made you go back the second time, knowing that Nigeria hasn't changed, knowing that nothing has ever changed, even within that short period of time. You lost a lot of time from work. You had your personal kind of suffering directly. Your family may have suffered. So I was just very curious just to see what made you go back. Do you think that there would have been a change? And that revolves around what the other guy talked about. What is actually really the way forward? Because for me, personally, I don't think there is, right now with the situation of things, with what has happened with P2B, it just seems as if that is a little bit of hopelessness, that it's not that we're not ready for change, but I think the time is not yet there. It's either our people haven't suffered enough, or we haven't really had enough revolution, because what we need to change Nigeria is more beyond just hearsay. It has to be like an Arab Spring. It has to be like a complete revolution, or in a situation whereby the young people will take to the street and try to bring correctness in the society. If that doesn't happen with the status quo we have right now, it is clear that if you're coming from abroad, if you don't have the connection, if you don't have the money, and if you're not willing to put your life, and so many people have died in this process, you cannot get there. So that is what I'm getting. But just from you, it's just that deep conviction that made you come back, even with all the suffering. I'm just eager to know what made you do that. Thank you.
Can we also have Dr. Timmy ask the question, because he might be bordering around the same?
No, very quickly. Thank you very much. I want to thank both speakers for the excellent talks. Just a very quick comment. Going to Nigeria and doing things in Nigeria is difficult and requires a lot of sacrifice. I also want to bring to attention that America was built by somebody. America is not a paradise, and it's not a place of solace. Nigeria is our country. Irrespective of all the problems there, we have a duty to do something in our country. My father was one of the first generation of politicians in Nigeria who helped to change the country. I believe we need a critical mass of people in Nigeria, and it may not come overnight, but we should not give up hope, and we should still continue to try, no matter what it takes. I also wanted to ask a question regarding, I believe it's Dr. Suleiman, do you have any learnings from why it did not succeed? Was it rigged out, or was there any particular learnings from that?
Right. Yeah, talking about Dr. Suleiman, that was the person I was referring to. I've not had any conversation with him since after the election, so I don't know exactly what he thinks transpired. But that would be a very good conversation to have with him. And on the previous question with regards to why did I go back to run for the second time? The very first time that I ran, it was against an incumbent. And you know how it is in any society. Trying to run against an incumbent is always a very, very difficult process.
Right.
But the 2015, there was no incumbent. So I thought that the ground was level and one had a better chance. And that was simply saying that was because of my desire not to give up on a country like ours and see what we can do. And that's why I went and I built a much better structure than the very first time that I ran. Went through the process, and I thought that I was going to get somewhere. But I didn't get anywhere because of the rigging and other things that has encircled the Nigerian politics. And then I think the worst thing about it is that the people of Nigeria who should come out and elect the best people that can rule them, even though they know, but they are bought over, their decisions do not count. And that's why it becomes very, very, very difficult. If it was a free and fair election, I think we will be able to get somewhere. But with the present system that is rigged, I mean, look at what happened to Peter Obi. It's totally hopeless. So I don't know what the solution will be. First of all, I don't think that Nigeria will go anywhere with its present structure. Nigeria needs to be restructured to the point whereby no particular group can dominate over the Nigerian politics.
Yeah, but that was, sorry.
No, go ahead.
Yes, you mentioned Peter Obi's case. It is not over yet. You know, Peter Obi's case is not over yet because the masses came out and they are demanding, which is a part of change anyway, but it is not over yet. Let us see what happened. I mean, I know it was so disheartening until this very moment, as someone that had played some work within the system during the election hearing in those days. I know the way the system goes, but let us have hope. There must be hope. Let us have hope. That is my own aspect.
Yeah, can we also hear the view of Igwe, way forward?
Basically, as I said, basically the experiences of the doctor that went home a couple of times is basically the same thing. That's what happened then. That is still what is happening now. It's hard to tell someone to leave the US and go to Nigeria and be submissive to somebody who is in Nigeria, whom he knows much more than, but that's what you have to do to get anywhere. You must have to do that. You must be willing to serve so that you eventually be a master. So that's what you have to do. We cannot give up. We cannot give up, definitely. The only thing we have to do is to make sure we understand what we're going into. You take care of your security. Do what you have to do. I mean, there's a way to do these things. You just have to play the game. You have to play the game. If I know the chairman and somebody else knows the chairman, I have a little advantage. If I'm in US, if the chairman visits US, I will host him. We help him with his medical services, his health and all that, do a lot of things for the family and all that. So you have an advantage, but we're not going that direction. We need to go that direction. You're not trying to compete with people in Nigeria. They've made their money easily. You're not trying to compete with them, but you have an advantage that you can use. I don't know if you have to answer somebody, sir, to be a governor. I answer, sir, be a governor. Once I become a governor, I won't answer SAR anymore. But that's what you have to do. So that's part of our problem. We are not. The people in Nigeria don't want to in because they know they're better. They are better than them. Then if you come now and then start acting like you're better than them for real, then this is gonna be that's part of the problem. But we can't give up. That's the bottom line. We can't give up. We just have to keep changing our strategy and until we get it right.
Any other questions? We are wrapping up.
Madam Chair, can I just make a since we have Dr. Cliff Eke here, I just want to make a quick suggestion. It's not really a question. The and my Dr. Eke, I'm just saying this from the broader picture of what AMPA is doing. And I agree that we just cannot run away from this. You know, most of us have the desire to contribute to Nigeria. I know that AMPA is not political, but I think that as a national body, we have to, at this point, start trying to see how we can inject ourselves into the political system. Good enough, we have the advocacy arm. And my suggestion would be that we can use our advocacy arm, get into some of the political action committees and figure out a way to have a statutory role in most of the health boards and put in our own AMPA members. Because from what Igwe was saying before, there has to be a way for us to at least start getting involved, even if not at the highest level, so that we start knowing people, we start knowing policy makers, we start doing all the PRs. So I would suggest personally that AMPA, through the advocacy arm, I'm not saying that AMPA should go political, that will go run against what we're doing, but at least through our political, the advocacy arm, figure out a way, there will be a way to get AMPA to have a statutory position in most of the health boards. The National Primary Healthcare Development Agency, I don't think it's going to be too bad to have a position there for AMPA to put in somebody. The national health, the health insurance scheme, National Health Insurance Scheme, the CDC in Nigeria, these health bodies. I saw yesterday that Obasanjo is coming to be one of the keynote speakers or so during our convention. If we meet people like that, AMPA is a strong body. There should be a way that we can at least begin to get board membership. One position, reserved for AMPA. Let AMPA start putting people there that would at least start knowing people, start understanding how the health systems work. Maybe in 10 years, maybe in 15 years, you might start yielding results. But I want us to, have that consideration.
Some of you were not here when Igwe spoke. He really laid out the roadmap because he is in the system. Unfortunately, we are running out of time to go through that. But, governorship is do or die. Yeah, Senate may not be. House of Rep is, according to Igwe, is most likely where you'll be more successful at an entry level.
Exactly.
And then you realize that the party is what your name is not going to be on the ballot, unlike in US. You can even write in people's name when you go vote in US. But in Nigeria, your voting is only the party. And so it's the party. And then, of course, the godfathers and the rest of them, and how much loyalty you're gonna remain, that will remain after when you get in, and if you're gonna survive them, if you go against them. And so, and then the power of incumbency, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I really love that talk, the roadmap, So corruption will remain in Nigeria unless we get rid of. We do it the way the Ghanaians did theirs. Maybe that will shake people up. Okay. Otherwise, that thing is a lucrative business. It is the biggest business of all in Nigeria, that you can just win a lottery by getting into an office and you loot and loot and loot without any investigation. Nothing. Okay. So the same thing I remember when my case is still pending, with the state, Anambra State. Okay. I was in 2018, I went in in partnership with Anambra State, did everything they said, got all the groups together, paying them, had a workforce, got the late Joel Ekwunife approved 100 hectares of farmland out of 200 hectares that we asked for. But they thought they're never gonna break me to give them money. So some of them wouldn't talk to me. And they treated the diaspora differently. My MOU was completely different from what a native, an indigenous ones will be. And then coupled the fact that it's Obiano's regime and the parties. Of course, I went there and I acted like an American. I tell them I'll sue you. I don't know whether it's you guys are all crooks. So the chairman, I really wrote that. And then the chairman called me when I was in Nigeria coming into for MOU. He said, Cordellia, you need to go back. I'm not chairman of crooks. I'm not going back. You must. This is the late Igwe Cyril Ekwes. Is that Ekwes? Yeah. The late Igwe, a gentleman. But that was when he got to know about my case. Some people will sort of corner you in a way so that you do they tell you all the things we need. We went to Ghana, we went everywhere in Nigeria, and all the information we gathered was to be used by some of them, not necessarily for you. And so he said, you need to return. I said, I'm not returning, you're honorable. I want you to make the governor available to me to talk to. I'm not going back to America until I talk to the governor. He said, He said, okay, I'll call back. So he called back and said, okay, we're gonna meet. And they scheduled a meeting. All the big powers were in the meeting, except the governor. And for me, they've never had any investor come in and cost them. They're gonna sue them. I don't know. And we're all crooks on that. Yeah. So I get this is they had to get me to sign a letter that I will not sue them. And that and Igwe really was impressed. Of course, I was not. I just told them, I don't know that you guys didn't know you're crooks. So let me give you examples of what we go through because of being Nigerians and what the whole world. I went to India. I told them all of it. I said, you mean you guys don't know that? Okay, you are in the government, and instead of trying to help the people, I mean, I went all out. They looked at me and said, okay, what do we do now? The same person who eventually became my lawyer was the one who, their counsel, who said, no, this woman must sign a letter that she will not sue us. So they wrote the letter. I said, okay. And Igwe said that they must help them, thanked me and said that since that he's overseas, okay, and that I took it upon myself to come in to help, and that he will make sure. And he really tried, but he died before he completed it. And what And then, of course, his MD that he wanted to fire took over. My village person who made sure that my case never went anywhere. He could not take my case. And then, of course, I had gotten their lawyer to be my lawyer. And eventually they worked and fired the MD because he put up all of the lands that they were selling and presented it to Obiano. The next day, Obiano fired Jide, okay, and they put Amobi, and now my case was resurrected. I mean, it was incredible. I mean, my MOU was the only MOU written specially, and it didn't succeed. They put their selves in it, and when it was time to set up a bank account, the people refused to bring their BVN. I said, you people put your name and now you won't supply your BVN. So, but anyway, cut the matter short. My lawyer went through hell and was determined that the right things should be done and I will not be treated differently, and took it up on himself. But the commissioner for land became the obstacle during Obiano with Bello Obiano. And I thought they were kidding. I said, you guys always involve a woman and blame them. But eventually it was 2 days prior to, that's when they submitted the MOU to the governor and didn't sign. And so now he resurrected it. It's going to Soludo. And now they needed to do PWC, is that PWC audit, forensic audit of all the MOU. Do you know that they're now reversing, even if you build structure on the land, they will knock it down. Soludo, because they said that most of them were sold, and the person telling me this, insiders there, I won't name their names. That again, it was Bello Obiano and the commissioner for land who were selling government lands. And I don't know why, I don't know the essence of this story, other than we are treated differently when we come from diaspora. And if you're there, if you want to survive, I refuse to go away. Okay, and I decided it's an inside among them I will need to tap. To, you know, indeed, what do you call it? Lay off all the people, including the lawyer, my MD, the agronomics, the market. I laid off, and I just took the, unknown to them, it was their own counsel that I got it, and he got it right. And so now they've done the audit, the PWC audit of all the MOUs, okay? And I was told that those people said they must give me my 100 hectares. After the audit return, you know, came out, okay, we supplied materials, everything we did. But then again, Soludo is doing things differently than was formally structured. They're establishing, I don't know what they call it, but where you have something like 2,000 hectares of land, you call it a farm development or so, where they give people 50 hectares or whatever. But all I know is that mine is gonna be, I don't think I'm gonna fall into that one. But yeah, it's good to know somebody who can direct you. And I was lucky to get someone with the system to do that for me.
I'm Chair. Can I respond?
Yeah, Cliff, okay.
Okay. All right. Thank you. I want to thank the Igwe Honora for his contribution too. I missed his part because, like I said, it's in the West Coast, we're finishing work. But I gather this is being recorded. So I will urge, the chapter, if we can share it so we can learn from his wisdom, that would be great. And Madam Chair, thanks for sharing your experience and your perseverance to get your 100 hectares. You can give me 5 hectares, I don't mind. Now, Dr. Wankwo, I wanted to address your concern about AMPA, and exactly this is actually why MPAG was born. Dr. Kpaduwa can tell you, before AMPA was like, we couldn't do much because of our 501c3 status. That's why we formed the MPAG 501c4 to be involved politically, not just in Nigeria, actually, even here. And we can talk to Dr. Yoro James, who's our chair, give you more details. And during this past election, MPAG was very involved in Nigeria. We had voters registration turnout in Abia State. What's the other state? Many states. In fact, we are doing one in Imo State now. As I'm speaking to you, MPAG, we're trying to mobilize those people in Imo State so that voters can go and register, which we did. We paid, for them to get their cards and everything. Dr. Mojeji is here. He knows about that. But at the end of the day, the system still failed us. We even engaged INEC because that was my biggest fear. Would they transmit these results? And they promised they would, and you see what happened. So we are involved. And also in the healthcare sector, as far as the boards, there's a national dialogue for healthcare ongoing now. The Vice President, Osibanjo, is chairing that. And AMPA has a seat there. We're supposed to, the current president, Dr. Anyogo, is involved. But they've called meeting 3 times. They never met. There's so much disorganization. But you're absolutely right. We have to get into the system to be able to affect change. And we are poised with groups in Nigeria we're partnering with to make sure we get onto these boards, including even MDCN, which is the one that licenses physicians. Yes, we actually were able to succeed to get a permanent seat in MDCN to be on the board. And, so a lot of work to do, you're right. But hopefully it will start yielding fruit in the next 5 to 10 years. Thank you.
Madam Chair, there are comments on the chat. Do you want me to read them out, or you want to read them?
Yeah, please, can you read them out and we can, where is it?
Yeah. So this first chat here is from Adora Okolumoweni. She says that the Nigerians in diaspora cannot even lead themselves or be unified in organizations here. Why do the diasporans think that they can change Nigeria? Once you have a Nigerian town or street here, then things will change. You can only offer what you have. Then there's another comment from Dr. Hezi Adesanya. He says that strategic leadership will benefit Nigeria better than activism. Diasporans need to know their country, have a healthy respect, and know that 1 + 1 is never 2. Those are the 2 comments.
Makes sense.
Oh, man.
Makes sense.